You made it. I barely made it. I was just on a bike ride with my family. Beautiful day in Chicago. The golf courses are now open. Been open about 6 days. I've got 4 rounds in. I'm fired up about that. But welcome to Market Down Live. I don't know about you, but in my house, Wednesdays are known as Masked Singer Day. That's a show on Fox if you're not familiar. Great comedy, great singing. I wish my kids would walk down and say, "Hey, Dad, it's Wednesday. It's Market Down Live Day." But I'll take a back seat to Masked Singer. And also, Golf Channel is now got Golf Central going on again. That means that live golf is hopefully right around the corner, and I certainly didn't mean to be on at the same time. So I'm going to adjust my time starting next week. I'll figure that out going forward. But this week, right now, I'm going to run my interview with Brendon Todd, a guy who has a resurgence in his golf game. He won back in 2014, then back to Monday qualifiers, worked his way back to 2 PGA Tour wins in the fall. We talk about that, and as always, he gives us a great swing tip for you, so pay attention to that. He's going to talk a little bit about ground forces, stabilizing yourself. You're not going to want to miss it. Enjoy the interview, and I'll talk to you on the other side. I'm thrilled to welcome in a 3-time PGA Tour winner, and includes 2 already this season. Brendon Todd, welcome to Market Down Live.
Thanks a lot for having me, Mark. It's a true honor. You're one of the best guys to play with in the game, and I've had a couple good rounds with you out there, so glad to be here doing it.
Well, good. Hey, I'm glad to have you, and I'm thinking about your situation. You've got 3 kids, 5, 3, and 1 are their ages. And you probably have heard people like me who have a little older kids complaining about this whole e-learning thing.
Oh, yeah.
Something tells me you and Rachel might prefer to have some sort of curriculum instead of having to come up with a series of 5-minute activities every day.
It's give or take. I've talked to people who really are saying, teaching 2nd grade is so difficult, or maybe they're teaching 7th or 8th grade and they're saying, I don't even remember this math from school, so how can I teach this? So I know parents are struggling with that responsibility of feeling like their kids' education is in their hands right now. And fortunately for us right now, we really just have to keep them fed and entertained and asleep at night. So I would say we have it easier, even though there are times where I'm like, man, every day is Groundhog Day. You've got to come up with activities and sports and painting and arts and crafts and just things to keep them, entertained all day long. I truly know what it's like now for my wife when I'm gone all the time.
Hey, you're probably up to your eyebrows in Curious George and Paw Patrol, Berenstain Bears maybe. What are the favorites in the Todd household?
Yeah, my 5-year-old loves to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Blaze, Paw Patrol. And then we've started watching Ultimate Beastmaster on Netflix, which is like American Ninja Warrior. That's been a fun nightly activity. And then my girls are more into, Mickey Mouse and Paw Patrol and really just coloring. Anything where they can get crayons out. They might color on the wall. They might color on the floor. They might paint my garage. But, we just try and keep them engaged and, learning a little bit and having fun.
Yeah, well, you can always paint over that, right? And it gives character. When something happens like that in our house, I'm like, hey, Amy, it gives character to have a couple of bad spots over there. Maybe, it takes time for that to really sink in. But I'm curious, during this time, you had more time at home. Any new skills you've developed that you didn't know you had before?
Some of the handyman stuff around the house. I'm not very handy, but, just hanging pictures, cleaning up after the kids. We all cleaned the garage this morning, so I haven't discovered too many new skills, but I'm forced to do more things around the house than maybe I'm usually doing in an off week. One thing we found pretty cool for color on the walls was those Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. It looks like a sander pad, but you can rub anything off a wall with that. So I recommend those to parents out there.
Totally. A magic eraser. And I will say, I didn't read the directions the first time I used those. I just started using it without getting it a little wet.
Right.
And it's like, this isn't working. But if you just get that a little damp, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it works really good.
Yeah. Let's jump ahead and talk a little bit about your college days. Obviously, at University of Georgia, after you moved down to North Carolina from your early days up north, but you went to University of Georgia, a golf powerhouse. You ended up winning the 2005 NCAA championship. And researching a little bit, I thought it was really cool that all 5 guys in the final round of that tournament shot 70, even par the last day. And in college golf, you got to throw out a score every day. So there's always someone that felt left out. But you didn't have that. You got to celebrate the national championship without throwing out a score. How cool was that?
Yeah, it was really cool. I would say that was a true team win for us, a culmination of 5 guys who had basically played every tournament together for 2 years. We didn't have a win that entire season, 04-05. We had a lot of seconds and thirds and fourths. Felt like we were just knocking on the door. And, Kevin Kisner was on that team. He was struggling in the spring. Me, Chris Kirk, David Denham were having pretty good seasons. So to see Kevin step his game up, he shot like a first round 66 and the last round 70. Richard Scott came in with a 70 the last day. And we got to hammer down on tech, which was always fun. So we were going up against the Jackets the last day, and we were able to, hold them off by 8 or 10, something like that. So it really was a true team win, one where all 5 guys pitched in. And, and that was the nature of that team. We all got along great. We were all really good players, and it was nice to see it come together that way.
You peaked at the right time, obviously, and I thought maybe you guys just confused the rest of the field because you had a bunch of guys with 2 first names, right? Brendon Todd, Chris Kirk, Richard Scott. They didn't know what to call you, and they just said, all right, I guess we'll just bow down to this team.
That's right. You got to get them any way you can.
Well, you moved on then to the PGA Tour, and I still remember walking down the fairway on the first hole at Pebble Beach. You probably can't see it back here. This is the 10th hole at Pebble Beach. So I got the Connect 4 in the way. We got a play later set up.
Oh, good.
But anyways, we were walking down the first fairway in February. It was your rookie season, and we were playing with Mark Calcavecchia. Mark Calcavecchia just looks at us, and he goes, this is my 703rd start. And we kind of laughed because what start was it for you, Brendon?
4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly.
It was 700 down the road for me. Yeah, and I remember picking his brain that day. How do you stay on tour for 30 years, all this stuff. And, I asked John Houston that question that same year, and he said, don't make double bogeys. And I swear for 5 years after that, I made nothing but doubles.
Just trying not to do something, not the way to succeed on the PGA Tour. And pretty soon after that, after you won on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2013 for the second time, you got back on the PGA Tour and you won at the Byron Nelson, which should be going on this week if all was right with the world. But instead you're quarantining like the rest of us. So what kind of memories do you have there at the Byron Nelson for your first PGA Tour win?
Yeah, it was such a special week for me. Like you said, I was in good form. I'd won on the Korn Ferry Tour in 13, played really well in the Korn Ferry Finals, was off to a pretty solid start that year. And I had actually just switched irons. I'd gone to the Wells Fargo and missed the cut by a shot, but felt like I was swinging great. And I went to the Players Championship as second alternate and didn't get in. So I got a full week of practice there, show up at the Byron really ready to go. And we had a huge storm come through there on Monday or Tuesday. I actually was looking at my phone for some pictures this morning and I took a picture of the weather. And there was this really big band that went across the country there on a Monday night. So it made the golf course a little bit soft. And I remember getting off to a really fast start and holing about a 30-footer on my second hole, number 11, and then chipped in on my third hole, number 12. So, bam, I'm 2 under through 3, feeling good. Course is soft, ready to go get it.
And this is Thursday, right?
Yeah, just Thursday, going out there.
Feeling good, though.
Catching fire. And I remember I chipped in one time each round that week. So, it's kind of, that special week where everything comes together. I think I led the field in driving accuracy. I chipped in 4 times and was first or second in putting. So it really was a super special week. I had my partner from Pebble Beach in 2012. Him and his family came out to watch us on Sunday. They flew down from California, and we had a nice big dinner celebration there on Sunday night. So it was, really a dream come true. First win for me on the PGA Tour.
Pretty sweet. I remember seeing you then at Colonial the very next week. And, of course, you accepted congratulations from me, but then you said to me, too, it's like, hey, Mark, I'm so close to top 60 in the world ranking to get me automatically in the U.S. Open. I need to play well this week, too. Can you talk a little bit about how that works on the PGA Tour? How can you be grateful and content with something you just did, but realize that's in the past, and we got to stay driven and hungry to keep going to the next level?
Yeah, I think it's really good tool for every athlete, and especially golfers, is having a short memory. The only things you want to remember from the past are the good things that maybe build confidence, but for the most part, it's next shot, next hole, next round, and that's where our mind always has to be. So, fortunately for me, I did a really good job feeding off the energy from the week before, but I went out there knowing it was a fresh start, and I competed to win, and I think I finished fourth and missed a playoff by 2 shots. So I was able to maintain that momentum and really maintained it for about another year, which was, really satisfying.
Yeah, you want to cash in when you have it, and then a couple years later, you finished outside the top 125, and I saw you. I was there with you at many Monday qualifiers.
Right.
It's a tough road because even if you get in a tournament, you make the cut, Sunday night you got to go to the next one and tee it up again in competition on Monday. Any unique travel experiences that come to mind?
Absolutely. I think in 2017 was my first year doing the Monday qualifiers after losing my card. And Chris Kirk was nice enough to invite me to play the Zurich with him in New Orleans, and we missed the cut. But we stuck, my wife and I had our son, or 1 or 2 of our kids there, and so we stuck around, went to Jazz Fest on Saturday, and then I thought I was doing myself a favor flying out Sunday morning to the next Monday qualifier in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we end up on the runway for 5 hours. I don't think I got to Wilmington until 2 a.m., check in. I wake up, I have to tee off at 8 a.m. I hired a assistant pro from the shop. Haven't seen the golf course at Landfall in Wilmington. I go out and shoot 68, qualify, play the tournament Eagle Point, and miss another cut by a shot. So it was just, that's kind of how my career went there for a couple of years, where even if I got playing good, it wasn't quite good enough. I was bouncing around for mini tours, Monday qualifiers, just kind of anywhere I could tee it up and get some competition. I think to my credit, I stayed humble in that process and really pursued each event like that's where I was supposed to be, and I was just trying my best to go, knock the door down and play well. And so I grinded hard those few years where I was struggling, and I came out on the other side, and now I'm sort of enjoying the fruits of that labor.
They're currently 4th in the FedEx Cup, 2 wins already, I mentioned earlier, and almost a 3rd there in Sea Island. But it's well documented through all of that. When you did win in Bermuda, kind of we all learned about your story, and really it was a book that you read from former PGA Tour player turned instructor Bradley Hughes called The Great Ball Strikers. I've gone down the road with different swing thoughts, different teachers. Curious, when did you feel like, okay, this is really the thing that's going to get me back to competing at the highest level on the PGA Tour?
Well, I wouldn't say, I think for all good swing thoughts, it's not proven a success until you get into the fire and you use it well. And so for me, it was probably the RSM of 2018, where I had just come off second stage of Q school, finished with a 63 there, missed by 2 shots in Mobile. And I went to the RSM Monday qualifier and shot 61 and qualified for the RSM. And I was able to go out there and make the cut. So for a guy like me, who I think it's talking about, I've missed like 37 out of 41 cuts in a row or something crazy, to qualify in and make the cut, I was like, okay, coming off last week, my swing's really holding up. The last 2 months of drills I did in my basement, the work carrying my own bag at home, just like grinding it out, trying to get my game ready, trying to get my body ready to play first tournament in 3 months. It was just so satisfying to see that hard work and that difficult time pay off into a made cut on the PGA Tour and some confidence, and also reshuffling me up in that past champion category, so that coming out in 2019, I could get more starts. I got into Pebble Beach, I got into all the opposite fields, and I was able to go build some momentum and put a solid year together last year.
Yeah, and then get to the Korn Ferry Finals and be able to get your card that way, which got you in those tournaments in the fall, and you were able to even miss some cuts early and still win a couple of events. I'm curious about Bradley Hughes' system, because it's not a Band-Aid approach at all. I read the book. I'm actually doing a few of the drills myself. It's something you really have to dive into. It's an 8 drill series, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And are you still, like, what's the maintenance look like now for you? Are you still doing those drills down in your basement you referenced, or is it more just now it's seeped in and it's just all you?
I'm still doing the drills. Now, when I'm playing tournament golf week in, week out, like maybe the first, I think I played 7 events already in 2020. I didn't feel like I had to do a lot of drills during those weeks or during those off weeks. I mean, I was riding confidence from the fall. I had done some drills in the off season. When you're playing golf every day and you're hitting it good like I was, I didn't need to change or really revamp anything. So I had the drills, they'd really set in, and I was able to just continue to go play golf, play the game naturally, freely, like it's designed to be played. And so that was working for me. But now that I've got this long break, I'm like, all right, I've got 7 weeks off. I've only played a couple of rounds. I'm going to get, I've got maybe a month and a half till the next event. I'm going to dive into the drills again and just make sure everything's really tight. And so, for me, he really told me to do the first 5 drills. And I think for most tour pros, he would probably recommend some combination of the first 5. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he has a great book called the Great Ball Strikers. And he has another book coming out right now that's about the drills. So look for that to come out on ebook as well on his website, bradleyhughesgolf.com. And so for me, I really feel like it's important to get back to the drills, make sure I've got everything lined up where I want when we come back out, hopefully in June, and I'll get going.
Now, is it something that just flows out of you naturally then? If you're working on those drills, so you're saying that when you're playing well, you're really just focused on the target on the golf course, or is there maybe one swing thought that you think about?
Probably the one swing thought is his number one drill is putting a board between your feet that's 14 to 18 inches wide, and the goal of it is to squeeze the board.
Like this?
Exactly. That's perfect.
I made one.
Yeah. So squeeze the board between your feet, especially on the downswing, and it keeps you engaged in the ground, applying pressure at the right time, and gives you a really solid base underneath you so you can square the face up. So what happens to a lot of us is we try and hit the ball hard, our legs push in and out of the ground, and we lose contact with the ground, and then we start trying to save it with our hands. So I would say his approach really revolves around using the ground to give yourself time and the proper energy to square the face up repeatedly. And so for me, that's probably the number one thing I'm thinking about there. If I'm thinking about anything, it's squeeze the ground on my downswing. But, like I've combined a couple of the drills on the range. I'm doing practice sessions, where maybe I'll take it to the top and, feel myself shallow it out and pause, and then really feel like the post-impact speed. So I would say I'm kind of combining drills 3 and drill 5 when I do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you obviously dove in and you're seeing, like you said earlier, the fruits of your labor. It's been really fun to watch the resurgence of Brendon Todd on the PGA Tour. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see you at the Masters. Did you guys get to play Augusta National during your college days?
We did. We played it once a year. So that was always –
So what, did you ever play it in November? Do you know what it's going to play like?
I played it in November in 2014 when I qualified. Chris Kirk and I took my teacher at the time, Scott Hamilton, to play in the fall. So I did play it then. I remember being kind of cool and breezy. Of course, it was a little bit wet. So I think it played really long. And I think that's kind of how it will play in November because, even if they overseed it and buzz it down really nice, chances are we're going to get some kind of shower and not enough heat to pull that moisture out. So it'll probably play a little bit long, tee to green, and they'll be able to get the greens as fast as they want. And there's a chance of having cool, very windy days. So we could really see any kind of weather in November. You could see 70 degrees for 4 days, or you could see 56 for 4 days. So it should be interesting, and I really hope I get that opportunity.
Yeah, us too. We want to watch the Masters for sure. But we'll, be patient while we're doing it here. And I got one last question for you. And you hinted at it a little bit there when we talked about Augusta National and maybe being a long course. I feel like I can ask you a question about distance because I was one of the shorter hitters on tour, but had some success. How do you focus on your strengths and saying, you know what, I'm not going to hit it like Rory McIlroy. I'm not going to bomb it out there. Yes, I'm going to be behind him, but I know I can still beat him.
Yeah, so I just work really hard on my short game and my accuracy, and I've had conversations with other mini tour guys over the years here in Athens who are trying to make it. And I'm like, look, accuracy is number one. It's the absolute number one thing. And even when I was struggling, maybe at the beginning or at times I was trying to hit a little further, but I knew it ultimately came down to repeatable accuracy. So, for me, that's picking small targets or, creating some kind of barrier on the range. I've got to hit 5 shots between 2 sets of trees, or maybe I've got 5 sets of targets and I'm trying to hit each one 5 times in a row, something like that. And then working hard on my short game. And like I showed you before our interview here, I am building a really nice turf chipping green and putting green in my backyard right now. Tour Greens is the brand, and so they're helping me out right now and building me a really awesome short game area. So I'm excited to stay sharp with that and get back to action here in June, hopefully.
Yeah, the whole family can enjoy the new putting green in your backyard for sure. I put a basketball hoop in when my oldest was maybe 3. And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, he's going to grow up and use this, but it was really for me. I'm like, hey, we're going to put this in eventually. We might as well put it in now.
Same. Yeah, we've got swing sets, basketball hoops. Now we'll have a putting green. So it's we try and play all the sports around here, and I definitely get as much enjoyment out of them as they do. But hopefully they'll grow up and choose to get good at the sport like we did.
Well, Brendon, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on Market Down Live. I look forward to when we get to watch you on the PGA Tour again. Hopefully it is at Colonial in June. In the meantime, stay safe and give my best to Rachel and the kids.
Likewise, telling me the kids hello. Thanks, Mark.
A lot of great nuggets there from Brendon Todd. I got 3 that I really liked mostly about those. The first one was when he talked about the behind-the-scenes grind. And just making sure the audio's working. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. The first thing was behind-the-scenes grind. Brendon Todd was trying to figure out, hey, can this swing hold up under, late in the round when I get a little tired and all that kind of stuff. And he went out and carried his own bag at home. He did all those drills in the basement. A lot of times you don't see that in these athletes. PGA Tour golfers, any other sports too, the behind-the-scenes grind that they have to do. You just see them on TV collecting maybe a big winner's check. But Brendon Todd worked really hard, and so do a lot of other players, including guys like a Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. They've got a lot of alone hours to hone their craft and get back and finally go out there and do that to then go out there and play in competition and see if it can hold up. So that was the first thing. The second thing was his accuracy focus. He's not focused on his distance necessarily. And I love those practice drills that he's talking about. Like on a driving range, you're lucky if you have a driving range with a net in the back and you've got a bunch of poles, automatic fairways. I'm going to hit it between the second and the fourth pole. If not, you can pick out trees. You can pick out flags that are out there, all those things, and that's what Brendon Todd's doing. So that's something you can take also, that accuracy focus. And third, and this was my favorite, I hope you caught his humility to accept wherever he is where he should be, where he's supposed to be. He talked about being at Monday qualifiers. Whatever event it was, he's like, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us, no matter where you're at, with your job, with your schooling, this COVID-19 thing we're going through. All of us are where we're supposed to be right now. So now let's just go out there and do it the best we can. Let's do awesome with it. Let's use all of our energy to be there instead of thinking, oh, I should be here. Brendon Todd could have easily have said, hey, I'm a PGA Tour winner. I won in 2014. I shouldn't be playing Monday qualifiers. This is beneath me. He didn't take that attitude. He was able to get back to the top of the mountain. Great lessons learned from Brendon Todd. And then let's talk about his swing thought, too. I've got a 7-iron here. I've got the board that he referenced in the interview. Right here, basically, this 18 inches long, 12 inches wide, and you put it in between your feet like this. And basically what you're trying to do there is to squeeze in. You're almost like your knees are going in. Your feet are squeezing into the board as you make a downswing. And I'm probably not giving Bradley Hughes drills the exact details. I'm not giving it complete justice, but this is kind of the idea where you want to be really feeling the ground so that you can use the ground and the ground forces instead of, if you notice, let's say you kind of sway too much into it over here, and now you're trying to use the ground. We only got 1 foot to use the ground. It's going to be an imbalance. The idea there is that you're really using both feet to kind of use the ground in your swing. Here's a 7-iron. Now I'm just trying to feel, for me, those knees kind of getting closer together in the downswing. And it's amazing the pressure and the power that you feel to jump off the ground. And Brendon Todd's obviously put it to good work. Those 2 wins in the fall, 4th in the FedEx Cup. It's been really fun to watch his progression and it paying off for him. He actually was interviewed recently by Golf Channel's Rex Hoggard. If you didn't catch that, a great article about what we're going to do in terms of getting back in action on the PGA Tour, which is only about 4 weeks away. The different testing and stuff that he talked about and how that's going to work. So check that out. Rex Hoggard had a nice article on Brendon Todd. Once again, always so appreciative to have you guys with me. If you missed this interview or any other interviews, please visit my YouTube channel, Mark It Down Golf, and catch up with that there. I appreciate you subscribing and watching those. I'm having a lot of fun with this, trying to bring you all some content here while we don't have any live golf to talk about. Like I said earlier in the program, next week going to go a little different timing, probably on Wednesday again, but maybe just a little earlier. I'm thinking 5:30 p.m. Eastern, but I'll solidify that and post that, of course, on Twitter with another guest. Certainly don't want to compete with Golf Central and the Golf Channel, because I certainly want to be watching that too and get all the latest news. So once again, I appreciate you joining in, and we got to give you a mark it down. It was earlier. It was that third thing, that humility from Brendon Todd. Mark it down. All of us are where we're supposed to be. Now let's go out there and use all of our energy and just be awesome at it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday.